My next guest appears to be on the short list to become vice president on the Democratic ticket. Joining us now from the iconic conference in Denver is Governor John Hickenlooper, Democrat from Colorado and author of a new book, The Opposite of Woe, My Life in Beer and Politics. Welcome, Governor.
I'm glad to be on. Thanks for having me.
You're also a super delegate, right? So you already got your travel booked for the convention?
Yes, I do. I've got my reservations made and looking forward to, being in the middle of it all in Philadelphia.
Well, you certainly bring a cool factor to the ticket. Your state's legalized pot. I think, 1 out of every 2 millennials has moved to Denver. My sister is one of them. But, what do you do to kind of keep the cool, not only the cool factor, but sort of have the state respond to the growth that you've seen, particularly in the Denver area where so many people have moved there? It's tough to find affordable rent, affordable housing. You're growing like a weed. It's a problem a lot of people would love to have.
Well, it is a good problem to have, but it's still a problem. And we're very focused on, traditionally, affordable housing is the housing you built 30 years ago. But when you're growing as rapidly as we have over the last decade, you aren't able to keep up. So we're trying to figure out ways to cut red tape and allow developers and builders to build more efficiently and effectively and basically faster.
Yeah. Cut down on that regulation. That's what Donald Trump wants to do if he's president.
Yeah, that's not all he wants to do.
What do you think? We're pivoting here to the general, and your name has come up on the vice presidential ticket. Have you heard from Hillary Clinton? Have you spoken with her recently directly about the campaign and your potential involvement in it?
No, I think they are still very focused on making sure they get everything in the general election in place, clean up all the whatever, feelings and reconnect with all the Senator Sanders supporters going into the convention. So, no, I have not had a direct conversation with Secretary Clinton or her staff. I think, they're busy.
Oh, they're real busy. Do you think fracking is going to be an issue for you? It's one area where it goes back to the enormous potential your state has now for growth. You guys apparently have huge natural gas reserves, but there's a lot of pressure, especially on the left, not to frack. You say the science is sound. You guys going to move forward with this?
Well, I think, I look at this from a couple of points of view. One is that natural gas is, I think, a very good transition fuel, not just in this country, but especially in China, to shut down coal plants. I certainly agree with most people that we've got to get to cleaner energy and a cleaner energy economy in the future. But at least in this country, those mineral leases are somebody's private property. And maybe in Russia or China, the government will take away private property. But we have a process of doing that, eminent domain, where we compensate someone. And, we've looked at that and are working towards that. But the key is we've increased fines for spilling frac fluid or crude oil into water or on the ground from $500 a day to $15,000 a day. We're the first state to have, methane regulations to make sure that every single well gets checked every single year, make sure there are no leaks. I think that's our role. We shouldn't be taking people's private property. We should be doing everything we can to make sure that what is admittedly an industrial process is done safely and securely.
Right. No, I hear you. It's there's a lot of opposition, but also a lot of potential there. What about marijuana? And you've sort of been a little bit wary, actually, about what is probably going to be the signature achievement here. You can't go a page in the newspaper, a mention of Colorado without this coming up. And actually, our Jane Wells did some really interesting reporting lately on some of the negative effects, the smells from, the acreage that's now being devoted to growing pot and that sort of thing. How is this working for Colorado at this point?
Well, I will say, and I've said this before, probably the only good thing from my point of view about Donald Trump, exploding onto the scene is marijuana is no longer the first question I get asked, which is a blessing of a sort. I was against it in the beginning. We continue to work very hard to make sure that we regulate marijuana very rigorously, a real focus on making sure it doesn't get into the hands of kids. But we're beginning to see, and again, I keep telling other governors, I'd wait a couple of years and make sure there aren't more unintended consequences. But We're hearing anecdotal stories of places where we used to have a lot of drug dealers, and now we're seeing a lot less drug dealers. And drug dealers don't care who they sell pot to, right? So that's a good thing to have less dealers.
Yeah, but we got to go. What are some of those other unintended consequences?
Well, we're worried about, again, people driving more if they're under the influence of pot, which we haven't seen. We've been worried about it getting into the hands of kids, all that kind of stuff. But so far, those unintended consequences haven't been as large as we feared.
Well, I'm sure you have more up your sleeve, so that this is question number 4 or 5 going forward. Thank you for joining us, Governor, making the time. Appreciate it.
You bet. My pleasure.